Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome back to my house. Today I thought we would do a video that I've seen a couple people do where they wrap up all the books they read in 2023, but they do it in a really short amount of time. I still don't know how long this will take, hopefully like 10 minutes, but they just spend like one sentence or even a phrase or so per book. So I'm going to tell you all 100 books I read last year and just like a sentence about each one. So here's my Goodreads. I'm going to start from the beginning of the year and then we're going to scroll upwards all the way to the end of the year. So some of these, like the beginning ones here, I'm not going to remember as much about, especially the non-memorable ones because it's been like a year since I read them. But I'm going to give you one sentence about each one. We're going to start, well, technically this is the first book I read, Legends and Lattes, and then it moves this way. So I guess we're going to start at the right side of each one and then go this way. Okay, so let's just start with number one, Legends and Lattes. Overhyped, not very good. I don't know why it was the beginning of the cozy fantasy genre, because it wasn't that great. But I am kind of glad cozy fantasy exists now. Anyway, The Starless Sea. Technically DNF'd it at like 85%, but I counted it because I read so much of it. We'll never read anything by Erin Morgenstern again. All vibes, no plot. The life-changing magic of tidying up changed my life. I reorganized all my clothes this summer, gave away 17 bags of clothes. I'm going to continue doing the Marie Kondo method for all of summer break. Library at Mount Char, favorite book of the year, one of my favorite books of all time. I now own it, and I plan to reread it very, very soon. I even made my husband read it. That's how you know it's good. Book of the Most Precious Substance is basically like the movie The Ninth Gate, but not as good. So watch that movie instead. Okay, moving on up. The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein. I read it for school. I liked where it went. I thought the beginning was too similar to the original Frankenstein, but just not as good. But then I liked the ending and the twist and kind of a modern day reimagining. I feel like students would enjoy it instead of reading Frankenstein because Frankenstein is very hard to read for a lot of students. The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. Technically DNF'd it at like 80 or 90%, but counted it because I read so much. Did not care for it. Grady Hendrix' How to Sell a Haunted House. Most inaccurate book title of all time. Actually about puppets, not about how to sell a haunted house. Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. Had high hopes. It was so mediocre. Don't remember much about it, honestly. I think there's a movie. Amir Mended by Alex E. Harrow. A sequel to A Spintle Splendor. There we go. But sadly, I just read another Alex E. Harrow book, and I do not like her actual books. I've read 2 full novels by her, and now 2 novellas. This one's a novella. Liked the novellas, don't like the novels. Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking by T. Kingfisher. I enjoyed quite a bit. Gave it 4 stars. It's fun, cozy fantasy. Much better than Legends and Lattes. Did it for Readapalooza at school. It was very, very popular. Finley Donovan Jumps the Gun has made me not really care as much about Finley Donovan anymore. Loved the first book. This is the 3rd one. Its series is going downhill. Gonna give the 4th one a try. Prayer for the Crown Shot by Becky Chambers has made me want to read more books by Becky Chambers. I enjoyed the first book in that series. Can't remember what it's called. Psalm for the Wild Built. There we go. This one was not quite as good, but it was still fun. Come Closer by Sarah Gran. I only read this because of Kayla from Books and La. It's a like possession story, and it turns out it was not that exciting. My Best Friend's Exorcism was much better if you want like a possession story, I suppose. Clean Sweep by Ilona Andrews. Discovered this is a husband and wife team writing together, and I enjoyed the first one because it's sort of fantasy / sci-fi put together where like there's vampires, but vampires are actually aliens from outer space. And I did not like the second one as much. I'm going to give the 3rd one a try, see if it's any better. Okay, back up here. Let's see, keep going. All right, Atomic Habits. It was fine. Did not get rid of my bad habit of chewing on the sides of my fingers, so didn't work. House of Hunger. Supposed to be really good. It was fine. Don't remember much about it. It's vampires. Apparently people cannot write great vampire novels these days. Down Among the Sticks and Bones by Shauna McGuire. I actually loved it. It's my favorite of the series. It's the 2nd in the Wayward Children series. I absolutely love Jack and Jill. They are my favorite characters. Then I reread Every Heart a Doorway because I loved the 2nd one so much, and then this one's the 1st one, and it still holds up too. It's really, really good. I love that series, but I did just hear that it's concluding theoretically with book 10. Like book 9 just came out a few days ago in January, and then I think next year is book 10, which means it is theoretically the finale. Kaiju Preservation Society was fun. The audiobook narrator was Will Wheaton. It's just kind of fun. It's also set during pandemic times, and it's about saving giant kaiju in another dimension. Starts out on Earth though. Okay, Joy at Work by Marie Kondo was good as well. It convinced me that I don't have to delete all my emails because they're just going to pile up regardless. So why go through and delete all the old ones? It doesn't really matter. Then I read books 3 and 4 in the Wayward Children series, Beneath the Sugar Sky and In an Absent Dream. Neither one I remember being wonderful. Maybe it was In an Absent Dream that was good. I can't remember. Basically, if it's got Jack and Jill in it, it's good. Beneath the Sugar Sky is like set in like a candy land, which I would theoretically love, but I don't think I liked that one as much. Bee Tree by Emily Henry has been my favorite Emily Henry book that I've ever read. I still don't really enjoy romance at all, but I like the banter between these characters, and they are like writers, so of course I liked it. Kafka on the Shore, weirdest book I read all year. I don't think I'm going to read another book by that author. I can't even begin to tell you how weird that book was. Like, I could tell you some weird stuff that happened, and it would literally be something that happened in the first, like, 20 pages of the book. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, I reread it because of a punishment, because I was picking at my fingers for that vlog about does Atomic Habits work, and if I had to draw something out of my punishment jar, which I don't do anymore, I had to read a classic or something, so I read Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and it was so bad. Bunny by Mona Awad is Kayla from Books and La La. It's one of her favorite books, like, ever, and I read it, and I did not enjoy it. It's like some sort of weird fever dream. I don't think I like books that are set at, like, schools and with, like, groups of people that are doing weird things. I don't know. It kind of reminded me of, what did it remind me of? I mean, kind of like Dark Academia, but, like, really, really weird Dark Academia. Like Catherine House, it kind of reminded me of that, but that's a young adult book. It was too weird for me. Very Secret Society of Regular Witches, I would actually read that book again. It was really fun. Talk about kind of a cozy fantasy. It does have a romance in it, but I love the children in it that she kind of finds, like this little found family. Kind of reminded me of, what's that book called? House in the Cerulean Sea, but like funnier. And I just thought the author's writing style was really, really funny. The character was very just like witty. How to Keep House While Drowning, I listened to in one day, and it was really, really good. It lets you know that your house can be dirty. Like, it's okay. Come Tumbling Down, I feel like was a really good one, maybe. Book 5, Wayward Children series. Then I read book 6, Across the Green Grass Fields. I remember that one was not as good. Then The Last Tale of the Flower Bride, very mediocre. Went back and forth too much between the past and present, and there was like a whole storyline that I didn't care about at all. In fact, I care more about the present storyline than the past one, but most people say the opposite. So there was a twist ending, and like it was fine, but yeah, it was just kind of all vibes, and I just apparently don't really like the vibes that much. I want more plot, I suppose. Where the Drowning Girls Go, that's book 7 of the Wayward Children series. I don't think I like that one as much. Killjoy by Holly Jackson is the novella that begins, or that like sort of gets Pip started on her quest to discover what happened to the old cold case that has gone, well, cold, in A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. And I really, really enjoyed it. I gave it like 4.5 stars. It tells me I will definitely read more Holly Jackson, since I love The Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy as well. People We Meet on Vacation was not good. I remember I disliked that one. Why do I keep reading Emily Henry? At least I didn't read, what's the new one? Happy Place, because I knew that I wouldn't enjoy it. 5 Survived by Holly Jackson, I had to read for school. I didn't have to, but it was one of the summer reading choices. It was fine. It wasn't as good as Good Girl's Guide to Murder, but I still gave it 4 stars because it was wild. Like, there was a lot of violence. There was, like, the mafia was involved. Like, it was crazy. Once Upon a Broken Heart and The Ballad of Never After. This is a trilogy that actually just concluded. I did read book 3. But 1 and 2. 1 was actually surprisingly good. I gave it 4 stars. I think I gave the second one either 3 or 3.5 stars. But it's just kind of ridiculous. It's like every fantasy trope ever in a book. And I don't feel like it takes itself too seriously. Like, it knows it's being funny. And I kind of like that. The Writing Retreat by Julia I can't read it. Bart. I really seriously can't read it. But it was fine. It got a little weird and ridiculous. It's kind of a thriller book. It was okay. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Oh, by the way, Writing Retreat would be good for the winter time for sure, as evidenced by the cover. But Hitchhiker's Guide, I'd read once before, and I think I'd seen the movie a long time ago. For some reason, I wanted to reread it, and it was fine. It was not as funny as I remembered, but I might still try the rest of the series, see if it gets any better. Carval, no. Not as good as Ballad or Once Upon a Broken Heart. Same author, but I don't like carnival-esque things at all, so that's probably partially on me for not enjoying the setting. Summer Returned Pretty is so not even memorable at all. Why did I even read it? Who knows? R.A. Shaw and the End of Time, not good, not memorable. I wanted it to be like a new Percy Jackson. Don't remember anything about it. Don't care. Hotel Nantucket was one of the big surprises of the year. It was like my 4th favorite book of the year. Yeah, it was my number 4 of the year. Gave it 4.5 stars. Would totally reread it. Could not believe I enjoyed this book. It was just so fun. House of Salt and Sorrows was way better than I expected. I will definitely read more from this author, including the sequel, which I don't know why there is a sequel. I don't feel like there really needs to be a sequel, but it was actually really, really good. It was kind of like horror, romance, mystery, fantasy, all at once. It was really good. And Something Wilder by Christina Lauren, I read it because it was sort of like Indiana Jones or like Tomb Raider-esque, and I was like, oh, that sounds really cool, but it was a love story, and I'd read In a Holidays by these 2 authors before, because it's 2 authors writing together, and I enjoyed it, so I thought I'd try this one. It was okay. I think I gave it like 3 or 3.5. Fourth Wing, I liked. We all know this. It's crazy, yes, but I gave it 4 stars and I will reread it. Did not like the sequel. DNF'd it 50% of the way through. Art of the Prophecy was actually pretty good. I forgot about that book. In fact, I need to read the sequel, which I believe is just going to be a duology. I think it's called The Art of Destiny. I think it just came out a little more recently. But I do need to read the sequel because actually Art of the Prophecy was pretty good because it's kind of like this guy that was going to be the new king or emperor or whatever it is, the new ruler, and he's been prophesied to be the hero that was going to kill the really bad guy of their world, but then somebody else kills the bad guy of the world, and it turns out that like the prophecy was never actually going to come true, but he never really trained for it right anyway. So what happens when the prophecy is wrong and now people are out to get him and now he's no longer the heir to the throne and he just has to survive? But really it's all about these like women, like this old lady that is awesome that was teaching him the ways of like, you know, martial arts and stuff. I think this author is like some sort of martial arts expert. I believe he even choreographed like scenes in movies, perhaps, I don't know, something like that. But anyway, it was pretty cool. What the Dog Saw by Malcolm Gladwell, no. I read Outliers and liked it, but this one was just a collection of short stories, or little short like essays that he had done for some other like newspaper or journal or something, and they were just really, really random and weird. That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon, that was a fun little romance, little romp, but I think I only gave it like 2.5 or 3 stars. Like, it was just fine. I don't remember much about it. I heard it is getting traditionally published, so I think Orbit Books is publishing it, so... Last Year the Blackwood Library is one of the worst books I probably read last year, honestly. It was so stupid. It really was. Like, nothing in it made any sense at all. The main character was just really not very smart. Just her decisions were crazy. And it was way too long. Ascension. I still think about this book sometimes because the ending was so wild and I kind of forgot exactly what happened, but I know the ending just got crazy. It's sci-fi about this, like, mysterious, gigantic, tall mountain that pops up in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, and this guy goes to investigate it. But it's told in the future... like from the future, it's like kind of a flashback, and in the future this guy's like in a, I don't know, some sort of like mental hospital or something. But it got weird by the end of it, but I remember it being pretty cool. I don't remember if it was like there was something more like cosmic scale at the end, and it was really cool. Oh, also my drink of this episode, if you're still watching, is a caramel apple seltzer water that I got from Aldi because it was on clearance. A whole case of 12 was 34 cents because it's not the time of year for caramel apple flavor, so 34 cents. Like 3 cents a can. Good math. Okay, Paris the Memoir. Loved it. Favorite memoir of the year. Which I only read like 3 memoirs, if that. So maybe it was just 2. I don't know. But I really, really enjoyed it. And she's the audiobook narrator as well. The Fine Print by Lauren Asher I only read because it was set at, well, I like stories about billionaires. I think that's cool, but I also like stories set at theme parks, and this is like a guy that literally kind of runs Walt Disney World is the main character. It's not called Walt Disney World, it's called like Dreamland or something, but occasionally they were at the park, and it was like they would ride a ride or something, and it was obvious what ride it was. It literally was called like something like Haunted Mansion that they were riding. But it was just okay. Curious Beginning, the first of the Veronica Speedwell like mystery series. I'm gonna really enjoy this series. I liked books 1 and 2. I gave them both 4 stars. I thought it really was a good start. It's the writing. The writing is why I read this book. It is so, so good. I honestly don't even care what's happening because the writing's so good. Third one wasn't quite as good, but I think there's going to be like a little love story. Reminds me of the Vicky Bliss series that I used to read back when I was younger. Rainbow Gray. I read this because it had the word rainbow in the title, and I was trying to do some kind of challenge, like for reading challenge where you had to read a book with this month it was like a weather themed thing or something, but I didn't realize that this is not even middle grade. This is like an elementary school book, so it was too young for me, and it was just okay. Same thing with the Tea Dragon Society. I don't know why I thought it was more like an adult cozy fantasy, but it's like for elementary kids, and I read it while my husband was in the hospital trying to figure out what was wrong with him. It turns out it was appendicitis, and yeah, he had to get his appendix taken out that day. That's the day I read the Tea Dragon Society. Secret Lives of Introverts was pretty good. I actually read this one physically instead of audiobook, and it didn't really have anything like new in it necessarily, but it was nice to feel like validated that you're like, oh yeah, okay, I do have those feelings, and to realize I'm not actually as much of an introvert as I thought I was because I did not do like all the things in this book. So Tomorrow, and Remarkably Bright Creatures. Why'd I even read these 2 books? It's because they were both so hyped, and they were both supposedly such great, wonderful books. I thought Tomorrow was maybe a tad bit better than Remarkably Bright Creatures. I think I gave both like 2.5 stars or 2 stars. I don't know. They were just not at all what I expected them to be, and they were so boring. Okay. Tom Felton. Oh, there's another. I did read another memoir that I forgot about. Tom Felton's Beyond the Wand. It was pretty good. Yeah, it was fine. Mostly about Harry Potter, obviously, but yeah, it was good. The Malevolent Seven was one of my most disappointing reads of the year because I had never read anything by this author, but it sounded so cool where like these seven, kind of outcast or maybe even like bad guys get together to like save the world, and they're all wizards or, have different powers, and I thought it was going to be so fun. I did not like it at all. Unseen Magic by Emily Lloyd Jones. I don't even know why I read this one. I think I saw it at the public library and just sort of grabbed it. And I read this one physically, and it was pretty good. There's a sequel. Maybe I'll read it one day. It's fine. Slewfoot by Brahm was a standout of the year for sure. It was definitely better than, I think, it was better than Lost Gods. I liked Lost Gods by Brahm, except for the whole, like, middle part of it. Like, I loved the beginning and the end. Slewfoot is basically the Crucible, but, instead of John Proctor being hanged at the end, John Proctor, gets his revenge. Just imagine that that's what Slewfoot is. So, it is set during Puritan times, Salem witch trials, like all that. Lost in the Moment Found is book number 8. Yeah, so it was the last one I've read. I'm still getting ready to read book 9, and I think I just thought that one was okay. So, yeah. Okay, Throne of Glass. Why am I reading Throne of Glass, you ask? I don't know, but I'm kind of glad I am because it's better than I thought it was going to be. The first one, I think I gave like 3 or 3.5 stars. Like, it was decent, and enough for me to continue the series because I know it gets better. And these covers. Thornhedge was okay. It's not my favorite T. Kingfisher. It's not my least favorite T. Kingfisher, but I do like fairy tale retellings, and that's kind of what this one was, so it's fine. Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone is also the most inaccurate title. While, yes, maybe everyone in his family has killed someone, that's not really what it's about. It's more about, like, one person in his family who killed someone and a mystery, a current-day mystery. And I just thought it'd be so much more fun because it set at a family reunion. So I thought it was going to be about how we would learn about each character in his family that killed somebody, but that's not what it is. Silver in the Bone by Alexandra Bracken. It's a young adult fantasy King Arthur, Knights of the Round Table retelling, and the first part is set in the modern day world with like cell phones and everything, and the first part, like the first third of the book, was so good I thought I was going to give it 5 stars. I couldn't believe it. A 5-star young adult fantasy. And then the whole like last 2/3 once they get to Camelot or Avalon, I think that's where they go, it's not good, so didn't care about it by the end of it, sadly. Probably will never continue that series. Daphne du Maurier, Rebecca. Okay, Rebecca, I just was like, it's a classic. Everybody at school talks about it because it was one of the book club choices that students have to read at school. So I finally read it, and the first three-fourths are so slow paced, so kind of boring. The last fourth of the book is wildly fast paced, and like crazy things happen, which I would have loved if they'd been a little slower, just because the rest of the book was so slow. So the pacing was ridiculous in this book, way too slow and then way too fast. Other than that, I mean, it was okay. It was interesting. Bad Gods, terrible. Did not like it. Don't remember anything about it. I think it's like a compilation of a bunch of like other stories that were published, but all put together. I don't know. Won't continue. Asylum. This was where I read all these horror books to see if they were scary. This was definitely around Halloween time, which means, hey, we're almost done. We're at Halloween books here. Asylum, no. It was definitely more mystery, I guess, than scary. We have it listed as horror in our library. It's the most popular horror book in our library at school. But, yeah, it wasn't really scary. It was more for almost like middle school kids, I'd say. Agatha Christie, Haunting in Venice. This was the movie version. Of course, the original was called Halloween Party. And I don't think I listened to the right version. I think I might need to read the actual book. But I also need to see the movie. But this was, I listened to some weird audiobook version where it was more like the characters just talking. It was like a play. It was really, really weird. There was no actual, like, prose. It was just dialogue. I don't know. God in the Shed, one of my favorite books of the year. 5 stars. Sequel was sadly disappointing. Maybe one day the author will write the 3rd book and finish the trilogy, but this is like the only thing this author has written, I think, at least in English. I think he wrote stuff in maybe French or something, because I think he's Canadian. I don't know. But same thing with Library at Mount Char. It's the only book the author's ever written. T. Kingfisher, again, The Twisted Ones. It was okay. I'm not a huge fan of her horror novels. I read this and I read The Hollow Places, and neither one of them were that great. I would definitely prefer her fantasy, for sure. Nettle and Bone or Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking were much better than her horror novels. Turn of the Key I read because it was so popular. Did not care. Did not like it. Nope. It was fine. The twist at the end was kind of stupid. So, Rhapsodic was surprisingly good. Fantasy romance. I will continue the series. I think there are 3 main ones in the series, maybe 4. I actually read this one physically, which was surprising, and yeah, I'm going to continue. Death by Chocolate Chip Cupcake, could not tell you anything about it. Don't remember anything. I guess it was cozy, but no, it was bad. I gave it like 2 stars. Would not read anymore. Also, though, in its defense, I think it's book like 6 or 7 in a series, or even 5. I don't know. It's far into a series, and I did not know anything about any of the characters or any backstory, so that probably would have helped. 4,000 Weeks, Time Management for Mortals was actually really good. I enjoyed it. I would highly recommend that book. I don't remember much about it. I wish I had a physical copy so that I could actually underline, because I just listened to the audio, so I don't remember like any of the tips. But I do remember writing down some quotes in my notes on my phone from that book, so I'd like to maybe get a physical copy. Home Before Dark, third favorite book of the year. 4.5 stars, maybe 4.75. Loved it. It's got everything I love. Dual timeline, where you flash back and forth between the past and present. Thriller, mystery, maybe a little horror, not really, but even a fantasy element, because like you just don't know if there's something supernatural going on or not, which I feel like I love that. And yeah, I loved it. So Midnight's Darkest Hour, terrible. One of my favorite titles, one of my favorite covers of any book really ever. Love it so much. Love the color, love the teal, love the moon, love the title. Oh, it was so bad. I wanted it to be about vampires, and it really, really wasn't. So it was more about just weird stuff going on in this town, and it was not good. Fragile Threads of Power by V.E. Schwab. So it's kind of the new like book in the Shades of Magic series. I think it's technically the start of another series in the Shades of Magic world called The Threads of Power. We all know my history with the Threads of Magic series. Love the first book. What's it called? It's literally right here. Darker Shade of Magic. The second 2 can just go away. Then this Fragile Threads of Power I gave like 3.5 stars. It was fine. It was the longest book I read all year. It was very, very long. Also, I did want it to be more about the new characters, but in fact, it was really just more about the old characters. I was like, okay, I like Delilah and Kel and everybody. And Alucard, I still can't get past the fact that she named a character Alucard, which the only thing that's, Alucard is from Castlevania, because it's the word Dracula backwards. And I'm like, why would she use that name? That's not a name for anything else. Like, it's just not a common name that you just use. Like, she just took it from Castlevania. Like, well, why would you name a character Dracula backwards in this series? It has nothing to do with vampires. Anyway, Dead 11. That was my 5th favorite book of the year. Sorry, that is my Roomba upstairs, if you can hear it. I hear it making noises. 5th favorite book of the year. Really, really good. Stranger Things-esque vibes, but it's a thriller. Reminded me a little bit of Library at Mount Char, or even a little bit of God in the Shed. Like, just, I don't know, something about the way it was told. Flashing back to different time periods as well is apparently my thing. Having sort of an investigation going on is also my thing. Ooh, don't want to update. No, thank you. And then Britney Spears. No, this was not good. It was the writing that was so bad. It was all like tell and not show. Like, not a single scene was really like shown. It was just, then this happened to me, and then this happened, and then this happened. No. Malcolm Kidd and the Perfect Song was a little graphic novel I read that I got from school. It was cute. It was fine. I don't really care about graphic novels that much, but it was alright. Song of the Sandman, sequel to God in the Shed. Very disappointing. It was more just about this cult, and like I just didn't care about anything that was happening. I would read the rest of the trilogy though, like just to finish it off. Iron Flame, I DNF'd, but I was 56% of the way through, which was like 15 hours or something into the audiobook, and I was like, I've spent this long in the audiobook, I'm counting it. Some of these other books aren't even that long. So it was just too slow. It was just too slow and boring. I just did not care about anything. Once the characters in a romance are together, there are no stakes for me anymore. I don't care. So I wish they had not gotten together in book 1. Spoiler alert, but you probably know that by now. Because like, why? I don't care now about these characters. And then the plot was just kind of boring too. But I did read about the ending. I read the spoilers. I know the big twists and stuff at the end. And it does sound like the twists are really cool. So maybe I'll try the 3rd one. I don't know how many it's going to be in the series, but I feel like it's even supposed to be more than 3, I think. God Killer would have DNF'd it if I hadn't been trying to get to 100 books. That tells you what you need to know about that one. Slade House by David Mitchell is a reread. 5 stars. One of my favorite books like ever. It's very short. I cannot wait to read more David Mitchell because I know some of his other books, like The Bone Clocks, I think it is. I think I have it right here. No, Ghost Written. It's this one. Ghost Written by David Mitchell is supposed to be really similar to Slade House, I feel like. Even the summary sounds similar. So I cannot wait to read it and see if it's good. A much longer version of Slade House because Slade House is really short. Bromance Book Club. Still love the premise. Didn't love the book. Hated the 2 main characters. They shouldn't even be together. Like, I didn't even want them to get back together. Okay, we're almost done. I Am the Weapon. Read it for school. Gave it 3 stars. It was fine. I'd totally read I Hunt Killers instead of I Am the Weapon. Like, definitely. Curse for True Love's the 3rd book in the whatever it's called series. I don't know if there's a name for the series, but the Once Upon a Broken Heart series. And it was fine. I think I gave it like 3 stars. I guess it tells me, doesn't it? Yeah, it tells me if I hover over it. There we go. It was okay. Okay, Fina, terrible. Binti, terrible. Both these are really short sci-fi novellas that I only read to get my book count because I was almost at 100. So I was like, well, let me see my shortest books. They were on my TBR. Like, I did sort Goodreads based on my TBR, and they were on there. They were really bad. I think I gave both 2 stars. Would have DNF'd them, which is really sad because they're like 100 pages. Simply Lies by David Baldacci. I gave 3 stars. I only read that book because it was, I should just have pulled that. I should have just highlighted these every time for you so you could see like my rating and the little plot synopsis and stuff. So there you go. My dad loves this author, so I thought I would give it a try, and even he DNF'd it apparently at like 50 pages in and said it was not near as good as the rest of his books. So I guess my very first foray into reading David Baldacci did not go well because apparently there are a lot better books. So all right, this is it, the last 5 books. Look, you've read 100 of 100. Yay. Okay, so Masters of Death. This is so tricky. I wound up giving it 4 stars, but the first half was 5 stars. It was going to be one of my favorite books ever. And then it just got so weird. It was the plot. It didn't make any sense. And also it was all about this game that these immortals play, that they can be the masters of death. And I loved the characters and I loved the writing, but then once they got to this game, they didn't even explain the rules. I still don't know what the game was. I don't know how you win it. It doesn't make any sense at all. It would just be like weird flashbacks of stuff. I don't know. Anyway, it made no sense. Still love the writing style, though. It's definitely not for everybody. It is incredibly convoluted. Like, lots of interruptions in the sentences with parentheses and dashes and just giving you very extraneous information that you really don't need to know. But I loved that so much. So definitely I would not recommend that for everybody. For me, I loved it. But the plot was just too weird. Sweep and Peace was very disappointing. I only gave it 2 stars. It's the sequel. Oh, the Innkeeper Chronicles. That's what they're called. It was the sequel to Clean Sweep, and I will try number 3 just to see if it's any good. Then I reread In a Holidays because I remember liking it last year, and I thought, well, it's a short little book, and it's, it was around Christmas time, and I wound up giving it 4 stars, although I did agree with a comment I saw on Goodreads this time that the sci-fi aspect of it, because there's a time travel kind of aspect, which is why I liked it, only really happens for like the first third of the book, and then after that it's kind of ignored and like it doesn't even matter anymore. So I do wish that it had been worked in a little bit more throughout. I mean, it kind of was referred to again, but I still really actually quite enjoyed it, except for the very end. That like third act conflict that apparently is a thing in romance novels was really stupid and just unnecessary. And then finally I read the second and third books in the Veronica Speedball series. That like little mystery thriller, I guess it was not really thriller, mystery series. I really liked the second one and gave it 4 stars. Would reread it again, and I was so looking forward to the third one then, but I read a comment from somebody that said don't read them too close together, space them out, or you kind of get sort of burnt out. Maybe that's what happened, because I read these 2 back to back and I had months in between the first and second one. But this third one, A Treacherous Curse, is actually about ancient Egypt, like this Egyptian mystery. And I thought that would be really super cool because I love Egyptian stuff, but it turns out that so far it was my least favorite in the series. I just didn't really care about the plot. I still enjoy the writing a lot though, but I wish like her and Stoker, like the 2 main kind of love interest, I just wish their relationship was moving a little bit faster, but I think it probably will in the next book. Like, it's definitely building up. But there's a bunch of books in this series. I couldn't even tell you how many, but it's a lot. I want to say it's like 8 or something. I don't know why I decided to check this. I know. I need to let you go. Like, we're on the phone talking. I'm going to let you go. Book 9 is coming out this year. So I don't even want to see. Oh, I saw too much already. I already said Veronica and Stoker. He's still alive. I don't want to see any plot, spoilers or anything. So there we go. I read 100 of 100 books, and there's a little summary of each one. Hopefully this video is not too long. Anyway, let me know your thoughts down below if you read any of these books, if you agree with my thoughts on any of these books, or if you think I'm totally wrong. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye.